You gotta get there you go now.
I think I'm recording.
Oh, let's see. You gotta get
SiriusXM Video lets you watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows on the SXM app. Groundbreaking interviews, amazing in-show moments, behind-the-scenes footage, live performances, all come to life in a way you only imagined before. Plus, you can create your own personalized Pandora station based on the artists you love. And hear over 100 extra channels filled with ad-free music for every mood or occasion. Get your first 6 months of our Platinum plan for only $8.33 per month, plus fees and taxes. Just call 844-711-8800 to take advantage of this amazing offer.
Get the SiriusXM app and listen on your phone when you get out of the car. Anywhere you take your phone, you can take Howard Stern, NFL Radio, and commercial-free music channels from nearly every genre. You never have to miss your favorite SiriusXM programs or commercial-free music. Find the SiriusXM app in the App Store or call 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/app to find out more.
This is Casey Phillips from Road Dogg Live, and if you're looking to take the scenic route on the radio with trucking professionals, well, we're here for you. Whether we're talking about roadway safety, trucking rules and regulations, or playing the game day, the focus always stays on keeping you company as you're moving and shaking on the highways and byways of North America. Join us for some good times on Road Dogg Live, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern, 8 to 11 a.m. Pacific on SiriusXM 146, Road Dogg Truckin' Radio.
To hear Road Dogg Live with Casey Phillips, activate your radio by calling 844-711-8800 or visit SiriusXM.com/go.
Did you know SiriusXM has over 100 extra channels on the SXM app filled with ad-free music made for everything you do? Mashup channels, workout channels, channels for parties, or just chilling out and more. Expertly curated for any mood, occasion, or activity. Extra channels let you discover new music and enjoy even more variety from every decade and music style you love. Plus, you can watch some of your favorite SiriusXM shows with SiriusXM Video. And you can do it all along with listening in your car as part of our music and entertainment plan. Right now, we're offering SiriusXM subscription plans for as low as $6 a month, plus fees and taxes. Call 844-711-8800 to find out more about these amazing offers.
Cargo pants, frosted tips, and a hot mix of 2000s pop hits. We've got your summer essentials covered. With sun-soaked Pop 2K bangers, the Pop 2K Summer Hits Mix. Now playing in the SXM app. And for all things 2000s, grab your flip phones and dial up Channel 10, Pop 2K.
When you're a SiriusXM subscriber, you've got access to commercial-free music, channels from almost every genre, and channels created in conjunction with the biggest names in music. Eminem's Shade 45, Pearl Jam Radio, Bruce Springsteen's E Street Radio, and more. Visit www.SiriusXM.com/go to sign up online quickly or call 844-711-8800 now. Activate your radio and start listening now.
It's the Leagues Cup. Inter Miami versus Charlotte FC tomorrow night at 8 Eastern on SiriusXM FC 157 and the SXM app.
Elliott, Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Kevin Parfit, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski. What is SiriusXM NASCAR Radio? It's a place to talk about your favorite sport.
You know, I renew my subscription. It never comes off this channel. The whole day is awesome.
It's a place to hear from the biggest names in NASCAR.
Joey Logano, what are you doing? I got the SiriusXM set up at my house so I can jump on more often.
Joey, I want to first thank you for doing this. This is awesome for the fans.
It's a trusted source for breaking news.
Major stories today, my friends. Let's get down to business.
I'm in the hauler with the breaking news story.
It's every NASCAR race heard live, including in-car radios.
Look out, he'll get to the back. He shuts him up the racetrack.
Stay out. Trust me.
Custer's going to go for the lead here. They get door to door with each other.
And it's classic races that honor the history of the sport.
Dan Earnhardt is going to win the Daytona 500.
What is SiriusXM NASCAR Radio? It's your 24/7 home for all things NASCAR.
The way you guys cover these races is unbelievable.
Channel 90, streaming right now on the SXM app.
On the 2023 Training Camp Tour.
The starting quarterback of the New England Patriots, Mac Jones. New offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. Great play caller, but, he can be a tough coach.
He demands a lot, but he also has a lot of fun, too. He's been a head coach. He's managed teams. He's managed people. He wants us to be the best we can be, and he wants us to have fun doing it. And most importantly, he wants the players to be out there playing fast, and he just wants to be a guide to make that happen.
Sirius XM NFL Radio Channel 88 and on the SXM app. From former players, coaches, and executives.
Comedy Central Radio, Laugh USA, Raw Dog Comedy, more exclusive comedy.
Netflix is a joke.
More than you bargained for, right?
10 hearts, laugh out loud. I'm telling you, people, it's funny on the radio.
More classic comedy.
Comedy greats.
More down-home comedy.
Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup.
And more stuff you can't hear anywhere else.
She's so funny on Sirius XM. Comedy by women.
To hear the Sirius XM comedy channels, activate your radio now. Call 844-711-8800.
Rondo Deportes, bonjour, vidi vidi vici, let's get ready to rumble! Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton of Big C Sports. This is Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to me and people who have 27 podcast applications. What a beautiful day today. It is actually August the 10th, 2023. That means we're closer to Christmas than we are to the New Year, if that makes sense to you. You got to get your toys together. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. When you go by and test drive yours, tell them sit you where the good Lord splits you. If that makes sense to you, and drop a lot of Cadillac all over the universe. I want to tell you something. I love today's show. It is a beautiful day. On Thursday, that means yesterday was hump day, so everybody's probably exhausted from hump day. If that makes sense to you. Maybe it makes sense, maybe it doesn't, if whatever it is. But I do want to say I love today because are you ready for some football? It's already kicked off on the East Coast. I'll talk some about those games coming up. 2 games tonight, a game up in Seattle coming up shortly after the show, and they're already underway in New England. I really look forward to the NFL football season. As I've been saying, my prediction, I got the 49ers in them their heels winning the Super Bowl, but it's going to be down in Las Vegas. We got the 49ers and the Raiders down in Las Vegas over the weekend, so you get to see Jimmy G on the Raiders and the 49ers that got rid of him to see if he can get some revenge, if that makes sense to you, whether it be Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. We will see what happens when it comes to that. I want to say you can follow Big C Sports Podcast all over the universe on 27 podcast applications. That's more than any podcaster in the universe. You can Google it on Google, Alexa, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio Podcast, Castbox Podcast, the Deezer Podcast, Podcast Addict. I'm telling you, Pod Chaser, you ever been chased by somebody? It's not a good feeling. This happened to me when I was a young boy. At the same time, you can follow us on Gio Savan Podcast out of London, England, as well as India and Africa, Podtail, YouTube, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Line, WePod Podcast, Luminary Podcast, Listen Notes, Podcast Wise, Good Pods, Podmay, Verbal Podcast, Podcast Policy, Podcast Republic, and the only one that used to scare me, and then it stopped, and then it started again, is called AllFeeds.ai. The robots are taking over. Give the robots some praise, if that makes sense to you. But I have a switch. I have a secret switch. If you want to know what it is, it's called the Teddy Switch. Teddy Switch. What's the Teddy Switch? Well, Teddy Switch, some of you don't know, but you're about to be indoctrinated to one of the best voices in the history of the universe. He was singing, turn off the lights, light a candle, dun, 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 dun. You see, I'm in a romantic mood, yeah. Said, turn off the lights, turn them off, and come to me. And then Teddy would say, you see, there's something I want to do to you, baby. Yeah. And people said, you're not Teddy. We want the real Teddy. Yeah, I do the best I can. You try singing Teddy to millions of people, if that makes sense to you. But at the same time, Teddy could turn off those lights. And they say, rumor has it, I can't confirm or deny, They say that more babies were made in the history of the universe. After Teddy started singing to his woman, turn off those lights, he said, turn them off. And I can kind of vouch for it because my mama and daddy, my mama had 7 babies. And so I always heard Teddy. I said, Mama, how you have 7 babies? And my daddy was always playing, turn off the lights, ding, and light a candle. Then you see, that's when a romantic mood. He said, turn them off. That's all I can say. I can account for that. But you can try it sometime. Put on some Teddy and see if you don't get lucky, if that makes sense to you. Also, when you want to get lucky, I want to tell you, you can follow Big C Sports Podcast streaming OTT on 4 TV platforms all over the universe. Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really do appreciate that and give that some praise. I'm telling you, I'm so happy. I'm so amped up. Big C Sports Podcast. I'm bringing some things to the platform this year that I talked about last year, and it's more and more happening. I'm going to start getting the NFL, the NBA, and Major League Baseball owners. I'm going to be doing shows with the owners of the NFL, the owners of the NBA, and the owners of Major League Baseball. I'm also going to include more live interviews with professional football players, some NBA basketball players, and some Major League Baseball players, as well as track and field. Going to have more conversation with MMA fighters coming up on the Big C Sports Podcast for 2023. Give that some praise. And I'm not shucking and jiving. We're also going to be talking about reparations. We're going to honor what President Abraham Lincoln said when he said reparations now, reparations forever. Give that some praise. I'm the only sports show in the universe. I'm keeping it real. It's not for everybody. It's only for good people. If you're not a good person, you will not be allowed to follow Big C Sports Podcast. And I want to say I'm the only sports show in the universe. I do my own show. And that's important. Because if people learn how to do your own show, you don't have to count on other people. Because sometimes people let you down. Sometimes people change directions. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's time to exit the highway. You know, some of our friends that we have now, they were not the same friends we had when we were in kindergarten. Unless we've been held back for several years. That's okay too. At the same time, and I mean this to all the sponsors out there, because I'm looking for, and I mean it, I'm looking for $6 billion. I was having a conversation with someone today. He's a 90-year-old retired Air Force. And I was talking to him and about what he thinks about the sports league. And he talked about, without me even prompting him, he said $6 billion. I swear to God, I said nothing to him about it. But I've been meditating on that word. Just like I meditated on having a show before Big C Sports showed up. I was meditating for so many years when I started working with John Madden and Pat Summerall. I was meditating when I started working with Dick Enberg's crew. I'm telling you, I was meditating those things. And $6 billion is nothing, because it won't make you the most wealthy person in the United States. There are people all over the world that $6 billion, they probably got it in a suitcase when they go out of town traveling. If that makes sense to you. I'm going to tell you, I always produce a show. And I'm saying this for the Hollywood actors. Because a lot of you people in Hollywood, you're waiting on somebody to affirm the action. They're not going to affirm the action. Affirm your own action. I always produce. Number 2, I direct the topics. Number 3, I broadcast all the shows. Number 4, I do all the sound effects based on the platform provided by the agency. We could all use more laughter in our lives. The commercials are done. I'm the only sports show in the universe that does all my commercials beforehand. All of them.
Brother Preston, hey, I'm just calling. I know you're at work. I'm sorry to...
What the world? Hold on. My computers are acting up. What the world?
You have one new voice message. Sorry, pound is not a valid entry. Main menu. To listen to your messages, press 1. New message. Message skipped. Message skipped. Message skipped. States message.
Man, I thought I had a good voice. Your voice is woo-hoo. That's a $1 million voice right there. Brother Preston, hey, I'm just calling. I know you're at work. I'm sorry to bug you. I just want to know, what did you use to clean the oven when you cleaned the oven the last time? I'm at the dollar store getting some aluminum foil, and did you just scrub it with some type of utensil to get all the debris off the bottom, that caked on black stuff? Yeah, the Lord's on my heart. I'm going to clean that stove, but not sure I can afford to buy any other products other than aluminum foil, but hey, at the appointed time, he'll take care of that too. If you get a chance, text me or call me. Let me know what you used to clean the bottom of the stove when you cleaned it several months ago. Appreciate you, brother. That voice is a multi-million-dollar voice. No limit on that voice, brother. Man, I thought I had a good voice. Your voice is woo-hoo. That's a $1 million voice right there. Brother Preston, hey, I'm just calling. I know you're at work. I'm sorry to bug you. I just want to know, what did you use to clean the oven when you cleaned the oven the last time? I'm at the dollar store getting some aluminum foil, and did you just scrub it with some type of utensil to get all the debris off the bottom, that caked on black stuff? Yeah, the Lord's on my heart. I'm going to clean that stove, but not sure I can afford to buy any other products other than aluminum foil, but hey, at the appointed time, he'll take care of that too. If you get a chance, text me or call me. Let me know what you used to clean the bottom of the stove when you cleaned it several months ago. Appreciate you, brother. That voice.
To replay this message,
wait a minute. Wait, what the world? I've been hacked by shenanigans. Wait a minute. Now, I can't make this up. You heard it live. I was saying what Teddy Pendergrass does in trying to help Hollywood when it comes to getting rid of artificial intelligence. You heard it as it happened. I said, turn them off! And my computer turned off. I have 2 platforms that I'm using, and the computer turned off. You heard it with your own 2 ears, and I saw it with my own 2 eyes. It started saying, beep. I tell you, computers are always listening. Electronics are always listening. Listen up, Hollywood. All you gotta do, if you want to stop the strike and have them pay you more money because they think the robots can do a better job, start playing Teddy Pendergrass. And when he gets to the point where it says, turn them off, sometimes those computers, they'll listen. You just heard it happen on the Big C Sports Podcast. I didn't stop, but the computer stopped. Now, what happens if they start replacing people with robots? And the robots realize they're smarter than people while we doing all the work. We're smarter than them. We should make them go to work. If that makes sense to you. And then when that happens, you know what Hollywood's going to do? They're going to start asking for reparations. They're going to say, reparations now! Reparations forever! Isn't it something? Oh, I just had an epiphany. When the world says, oh, we don't believe in reparations, look at what Hollywood is doing. When black Americans were brought here in the slave trade from 1619 to 1865, they worked without compensation. People say, oh, that's a long time ago. Well, look at what the universe is showing us. In Hollywood, they're striking. The writers are striking. The producers are striking. It's like this. It's all on strike. Why are they on strike? Because they don't want to work for fewer wages than they've earned. They want a living wage. So if they can strike for a living wage, how do you dare say you're anti-reparations? Because black Americans were asking for a living wage also. But because of the wickedness of the country that time, they said no. They couldn't earn a living. Not only could they not earn a living, they were being raped, murdered, lynched, families sold off. And then after that you had 100 years of Jim Crow. Black drinking fountains, white drinking fountains, redlining, pig laws, black codes, gentrification, not allowing people to prosper. And now we're talking about reparations, and people say, oh, why we got to pay reparations? That's something that happened a long time ago. And look at what Hollywood's doing. You can't script it any better. Hollywood's on strike because they want more money. They're on strike because they want more money. The slaves couldn't go on strike. They would be lynched. They couldn't go on strike. They couldn't defend their families. And that's why I do what President Abraham Lincoln was trying to tell everybody. He said, reparations now, reparations forever. Enough of this sucking and driving and watching sports. Everybody playing sports, they want to get paid. If you're the owner of a sports team, you want to get paid. Everybody wants to get paid. And I just had something happen live on the show. It's like maybe God is listening. Because all I said was, turn them off! And the computer stopped. They're always listening. Give always listeners some praise. Unless you're a man, sometimes it's best not to listen. If that makes sense to you. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, if that makes sense to you. But again, I do all the commercials, and then the stats provided. I do the storytelling. I even do the play-by-play like you have tonight in the NFL, up to the line of scrimmage. 5-man front, 4 wideouts, ice formation. The snap rolling to his right, rolling. He's going to throw downfield. It is caught! Caught for the touchdown! Touchdown! Big C! 50 yards! As you watch New England, they're doing their thing tonight on the East Coast. And everybody has their thoughts about who they want to win. I got the 49ers winning the Super Bowl this year. But I just want to show you that I do this on my own with my higher self and the help of God. And then the show's uploaded to 27 multiple podcast applications out of New York City. And I'm in Dimdale Hills, California. And I love that God opened up the door for me to do this. And then, number 10, I never missed a show since creating Big C Sports back with the crew back in 2015 at Salem Media. And I really do appreciate the way things have grown with Big C Sports Podcast. But I really want to tell young people, I know Hollywood's on striking. And they're striking because they think robots can do the job of people. And that's true. Some jobs, they're not going to come back. They're doing the same thing in the trucking industry. They have autonomous driving trucks. They're already working with autonomous driving cars, taxis. Some taxis don't have a person in it. And so for all of us that are hoping that we can go to someone and have them affirm the action and keep us employed, you got to start doing things for yourself. And that's why I want to build Big C Sports Podcast into $1 billion industry. Because I want to be the biggest sports show in the universe. If we can get people from all over the world that will broadcast sports in their neck of the woods, sports will bring people together more than politics and more than religion. And Big C Sports wants to be a part of that. Give that some praise. I'm either lead, follow, or get out of the way. Either lead, follow, or get out of the way. You do the thing and the money will come. Do the thing and the money will come. I want to say thank you to Xfinity Comcast TV and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, where God said, reparations now, reparations forever. Give God praise. But he also said, let there be light. Let there be light in your life. Don't beg people for anything. You go out and make it happen. If it doesn't happen, don't look at somebody else. Look at the person in the mirror. That's my story that I'm taking with it. Give that some praise. I love so much about what's going on with the Big C Sports Podcast. I want to touch today on some NFL football because it's the biggest sport in the United States. We have our football. In Europe, they have, in Latin America, they have their own football where they go, goal, 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 goal. In fact, I'm telling you, my daughter, when she set up the very first interview for Big C Sports Podcast back at Salem Media, we went on from there to become the first time in the history of the United States that NFL Monday Night Football started broadcasting live on the Wall Street Business Network. They normally go to ESPN. I still got the letter from station management. They said because of Big C and the crew. It never happened before then. But they brought it there. But some shenanigans happened and things changed. I'm still expanding. Unfortunately, they're having some layoffs. But I want to talk about some things in the world of just doing it no matter what. Everybody has their own belief in how you should do things. But my passion for NFL runs deep. I grew up with the NFL football players around the household and professional football players. And when you think about the season's ready to kick off, we already had Cleveland last week. They had their first win of the season. And now everybody has to get ready for the rest of the preseason and to see what happens in the regular season. But I'm looking forward to it. 2023 NFL preseason is starting again. Thursday Night Football. I'm telling you, it almost seems like it's too soon because we're still in the heart of baseball. Baseball right now trying to find out who's going to win and win the divisions. But today the NFL will air 2 games tonight. Week 1 of the 2023 preseason is going to be the NFL Broadcast Network And last week, obviously, the Hall of Fame game, we had Cleveland and the New York Jets. But I'm telling you, there's something about this season that it seems like so many players have changed teams. But tonight we have the Houston Texans at the New England Patriots. That game is already kicked off in New England. It kicked off at 7 o'clock p.m. East Coast time on the NFL Network. We know they've had some changes at the NFL Network. So the first two NFL games today sees the Houston Texans. They're head to Gillette Stadium to take on the New England Patriots. Again, kicked off 7 p.m. East Coast times. And both teams will send rookie quarterbacks out for their NFL debut. They get the chance to get under the saddle and see if they can help their team win. And that's what I love about this game. You get a chance to see if you can make it or not. And everybody knows we have the old-timers. They're going to be secure in their jobs. But the new-timers, this is what I love. The Texans, they see the 2023 second overall pick in quarterback C.J. Stroud in NFL action for the first time. He played at Ohio State, but he also played high school football down in Southern California at, I believe it was Rancho Cucamonga High School. And just an amazing player. The first pick in the NFL draft was he was up for number one, but Bryce Young beat him out. Bryce Young played at Santa Ana Mater Dei, went to Alabama. But these two kids played in the southern section of what's called the CIF, the California Interscholastic Federation. But C.J. Stroud, he has been impressive throughout many minicamp trainings and also as QB number one. But the speed and difference between college football and the NFL offense is a big difference. In the preseason, now people want to see will the former Ohio State quarterback will he continue to impress the coaching staff and fans. I think he has to get, this is my own opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL is touchdown Patrick Mahomes. When touchdown Patrick Mahomes came out of Texas Tech, he didn't start right away in front of Alex Smith in Kansas City. He sat the bench and he learned some things that you can only learn by watching. And now they want to throw the new quarterbacks into the fire right away. I don't know if that's the best thing for them, but they're paying them and they're going to give them a chance to succeed, to sink or swim. But despite seemingly some questions under the center, the New England Patriots, there's a lot of talk about Bill Belichick. Will this be his last year if they don't make the playoffs? He doesn't seem to be the same guru since Tom Brady retired. But they're going to use week one to check out what they have on the depth chart. Now, taking over as quarterback for Louisville following Lamar Jackson's incredible stint is no easy task. Malik Cunningham, he had a lot of touchdown passes, 120 total touchdowns during his 5 seasons with the Cardinals. Will he be able to beat Trace McSorley or even Bailey Zappi this preseason and stay in New England? It's a big year for New England and Bill Belichick. A lot of people have lost a lot of confidence in Bill Belichick, and there's really no reason to. But when you have the success that you have with Brady, and Brady leaves, and Belichick stays, and Brady went on to win the Super Bowl and made the playoffs every year, and Belichick has it with New England, people start to look at you a little bit different if that makes sense to you. But that's my story and I'm sticking with it. And now we're going to go up to the Pacific Northwest. And now, fighting out of the great state of Washington, which is now a member of the college football Big Ten. What a shame the Pac-12 demise. The Conference of Champions couldn't keep their teams. But back to the NFL, as we say. Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Start time is 10 o'clock p.m. Kickoff East Coast time, so 7 o'clock p.m. here on the West Coast just after the show finishes. And then that's also going to be on the NFL Network. Now, this is a different Seattle Seahawks. They don't have Russell touchdown Wilson. Of course, he's went to Denver last year. But this second NFL game of the night features Minnesota. Think about the Vikings. They're heading to the Pacific Northwest to take on the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field. It's not the Legion of Boom and the 12th man the way it used to be back in the day when Russell Wilson was leading them to 2 Super Bowls. But while both teams had successful 2022 campaigns, they did suffer some fate with the first round exit from the NFC playoffs. But there are going to be some great teams this year that will revamp. Obviously, they're not paying running backs a lot of money, but they're still putting a lot of focus on the quarterbacks. So what do you have in Minnesota? You have the Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins out of Michigan State. Now, he has the 2023 starting spot locked up. We know that his contract is too big to even challenge. But this is the first time that Minnesota, the Vikings, have entered this season with him on an expiring contract. And they could eventually work something out, and they probably will if they make the playoffs. And that means that quarterback watch this preseason. If Minnesota decides to part ways with a 12-year signal caller at the end of the season, you got to look at the 2023 fifth-round pick in Jaron Hall, a 2-year starter for the BYU Cougars. Now, Hall can not only throw the ball deep, but he also adds explosiveness with his legs, and a lot like what Colin Kaepernick did back in the day, and he still can't get a job in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick had the record for the most yards rushed for in a playoff game against Green Bay. And he still can't find work because he said he wanted to make people conscious of what was going on with police brutality against black men. And people know the pig laws existed, and they know the black codes existed. But sometimes they want to pretend it didn't. But by him standing up and saying, please, can we stop being so aggressive to black men, it cost him his job. People blame it on the flag. It had nothing to do with the flag, if that makes sense to you. But while Nick Mullins is currently second on the depth chart for the Minnesota Vikings, the 6-year quarterback has only become a starter due to injury. You got to have guys stay healthy in this league because injuries are a big part of what goes on in the NFL. I remember when I look at the players who have been hurt over the years because of injury, that's how Tom Brady got his start. He got his start because of an injury. And when you look at other players, Alex Smith, obviously he wasn't necessarily injured, but Patrick Mahomes just beat him out. But I remember when Colin Kaepernick was also playing, and they had a big game. They beat Buffalo, and he came in the second half and had a big game. And he said, I think on a text that they got to pay attention because he's the real deal. Quarterbacks get injured, and new players come in, and sometimes you don't get your job back. So people try to play through pain sometimes. But no matter what happens when it comes to injuries, if anyone can challenge Cousins, it's likely going to be Hall instead of Mullins. Now, will the Vikings have an easy decision to make next offseason? It's all about the money when it comes to contracts. That's why they're not paying a lot of NFL running backs. On the other hand, the Seattle Seahawks, with the oldest coach in the NFL, Pete Carroll, they have their long-term quarterback situation figured out for the first time after Geno Smith's resurgence in 2022. Now, Drew Lock is the inside track as a backup. He'll be fighting off the 2023 undrafted rookie and Holton Ahlers from East Carolina. But Seattle, they're in the thick of things, and I think they'll be fine this year. Pete Carroll knows how to coach and get young men motivated. I know there were a lot of people that wanted Russell Wilson to stay there, and many people blame Pete Carroll that Russell Wilson didn't stay. But just like anything else in life, sometimes if you get stagnant or you get too comfortable, sometimes people just want to try a different road. The road less traveled, if that makes sense to you. But I think they're going to have success this year up in Seattle. I'm going to get into Big C's division predictions as I start next week. And I got Seattle in second place right now behind the San Francisco 49ers. And then I'm going to pull in the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals. But that's my story, and I'll touch on that next week as I get into more NFL on who's going to win what division, and that's my opinion, and I want to stick with that too. But today, I just want to go around the league and look at some of the league updates from a beautiful Thursday, August 10th. You got an impressive-looking quarterback, the Indianapolis Colts rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson, to start the preseason versus the Bills. Now, Richardson is a stud of an athlete. A lot of people say he has a lot of upside. A first-round quarterback, came out of the University of Florida, and he's going to start for Indianapolis in Saturday's preseason opener against the Buffalo Bills. The head coach Shane Steichen announced that Thursday. Now, ironically, Big C Sports is the only podcaster in the universe that broadcasted Shane Steichen's final game in high school at Oak Ridge High School in El Dorado Hills, where they beat Granite Bay for what's called the Sackwatt King Section Championship. Then he went on to UNLV, and it's been a storied career for him. He's also on the staff with the LA Chargers at one time. But Shane Steichen right now is the head coach. I think he's the only head coach out of Northern California as an NFL coach, if that makes sense to you. But when you look at Richardson, this kid, it reminds me of Cam Newton. He's been battling veteran Gardner Minshew out of Washington State for the starting job in camp, and that continues to It's going to be a battle. There's no one who's going to get the starting job right now. They're going to wait until the regular season starts. But for the 4th overall pick, he's going to get a chance to crack their earning job. He's got a chance. And all you want in the league is a chance. And it's a shame that still Colin Kaepernick hasn't been even invited onto a camp to even try out. That's my opinion. Why not let the man try out? But they're going to figure out who's going to be the head starter as the season progresses. And it's all about competition. Give people a chance to figure it out. Now, Richardson's been such a good-looking athlete. Like I said earlier in the week, he's 6'4". He's 245 pounds. And I'm telling you, the guy can run. They say he runs about a 4.40 and indicated that more reps will help him develop faster. You get more repetitions and you do some more things and you're going to get more notice. And all he has to do is he has to calm down a little bit. I know they have this called frenetic kinetic energy where people tend to do things at a too fast pace. But if he can calm down and they work with him, to me, he reminds me of Cam Newton. I remember when Utah went into Florida, it was 2 years ago, actually last year, and they played down in the swamp, and he had a better game than Cam Rising at Utah. But people were saying, well, this is he's more athletic. No, he can throw the ball. He can do it all. And to see him get the same chance in the NFL, I think Shane Steichen is going to be very impressed with him. Shane Steichen also was a run-pass option quarterback when he came out of UNLV. But it's about confidence. We'll see what happens. Now, also, the Indianapolis Colts, they're without Jonathan Taylor. He remains in a contract standoff. Why would he have a contract standoff when he's the best running back, obviously, on your team and maybe in your division? Because they don't want to pay running backs the money. But he has a contract standoff. And they're coming off a nightmare season that saw the team fire Frank Wright. They lose a game with one of the biggest blown leads ever and struggle offensively at times. In Indianapolis, they're keeping their fingers crossed that Richardson is the next in the line of quarterbacks at Indianapolis. Peyton Manning, obviously, when he went to Indianapolis, set the standard for how they can play. I'm not talking about Johnny Unitas days, but obviously the guy he can play. I think Richardson, just like Manning, can throw the ball deep, but he also, unlike Manning, he can meet you with his feet as well. He reminds me of Colin Kaepernick. People may not want to see that, but I see it. And I think if they work with him and let him get a couple of games under his belt, why start him? Let him sit the sideline for 3 or 4 games. It did not hurt Patrick Mahomes because you can learn things watching that you can't always learn when you got 6'4", 300-pound men trying to smash you into the ground, if that makes sense to you. But I think he's going to have a great season if they give him a chance to learn the offense, and that's my story, and I'm going to stick with that. I know everybody has their own thoughts about who the best teams are. And when we look at some of the other news around the NFL roundup, I like the fact that so many people are excited about NFL football this year. I'm one of them. I love it. You can go to NFL.com and stay abreast of some of the latest things happening. But I'm going to get into some things also as I look at another team that has a lot of question marks around them. And that's preseason quarterback Lamar Jackson. I call him Superman Jackson because he does put on his cape among the established starters who will not play in Saturday's preseason opener versus the Eagles. And head coach John Harbaugh announced that. But you know, Lamar Jackson signed that huge contract in the offseason, and now they're looking for, just be honest, they're looking for a Super Bowl for Lamar Jackson, at least an appearance. It's not enough to say, hey, we got to the playoffs and get knocked off. He's a great run-pass option. He's a very accurate as a passer, but there's times when you say he's not even the best quarterback in their division. But we will see. We will have to see. Cincinnati has a good old boy that has a knee issue, but I think Joe Burrow's going to be just fine. If I had Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson and I'm down by 4 and I got to drive 80 yards with 2 minutes left, I want Lamar Jackson as my quarterback. Joe Burrow, good player, but he's not a run-pass option the way Lamar Jackson is. But there are people in the media, they want to tell you, oh, Curry, you don't know what you're talking about. It's touchdown Joe Burrow. Well, I still trust Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson I trust, and that's my story. I'm going to stick with it. Now, I'm going to also talk about some injuries that happened with the Buffalo Bills. Running back Damian Harris has a knee issue, and he will not practice Thursday. Instead, he's going to be in a good direction per head coach Sean McDermott. They have Buffalo's Adam Benningham. I think he's going to be fine, but when you have a knee issue, that's scary, especially for a running back. They get hit all the time from the front, the side, and sometimes the back. Defensive lineman Ed Oliver has a back soreness. He should be back at practice after missing 2 days, per McDermott. And then preseason quarterback Josh Allen out of Fireball High School in California, which is about 45 miles west of Fresno in the Central Valley. And you have wide receiver Stephon Diggs will not play in Saturday's preseason opener versus McDermott and the Colts. Now, think about this. Josh Allen won a section championship in California, and he played at Fireball High School in Central California. And then you have Bryce Young, the number 1 pick for the Carolina Panthers. He won a national championship. I think he won it twice at Mater Dei High School in Southern California, in Santa Ana, California, under Bruce Wallison, and then went on to Alabama, now the first-round pick. And you have touchdown Aaron Rodgers, played at Pleasant Valley High School of Chico, went to Butte College, and then went on to Cal Berkeley. We know he has a Super Bowl championship with the Green Bay Packers. You have touchdown Aaron Carr, who played at Bakersfield Christian in Central California, went on to Fresno State, set records there, and then obviously went on to play for the Raiders. Now he's down in New Orleans. There are a lot of great quarterbacks that came out of California high schools that are getting their chance in the NFL. And I think that's amazing. And when I say that, how did the Pac-12 go out of business? We have quarterbacks that came out of California. Many played in Pac-12 programs or tried to, or at least recruited by them. In the Pac-12 folds, when you have some of the best talent, C.J. Stroud out of Rancho Cucamonga, Southern California, went to Ohio State. But there's so much talent in California, it's amazing that players go elsewhere at times and they don't get the success. Before I get on one more thing, I talked about my daughter who has set up the very first interview for Big C Sports. I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. The best daughter in the history of the universe. Graduated with honors, 2 degrees with honors in 3.5 years. You can be anything. I always say pray Isaiah 54:17, that no weapon formed against you will prosper. I also want to pay homage to my son, Malcolm, the most handsome son in the history of the universe. College student, going to be a senior this year. Very proud of you, Malcolm. Malcolm set up the very first interview. Actually, Daisy did the first interview, but Malcolm helped me save trees. I used to always get newspapers and Google stats for a Big C Sports podcast. And Malcolm said, Dad, why don't you just Google it? I've been Googling ever since. Now on 27 podcast platforms. That's more than anybody in the United States. And you can give that some praise. It's important. It's part of the legacy. But one day Malcolm said, Dad, do you want to see Big C Sports on TV? I said, sure. He said, pick up the remote. Listen up, people. He said, pick up the remote, aim it at the TV, and say play Big C Sports, and you'll see your show come up. That's before it was even on the air. Now we're streaming on Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Amazon Fire TV, and I want to give Malcolm some praise. He said it before it happened. And I'm just so grateful. I just want my children to always trust God and go forward. I want to head back to the NFL and talk about Carolina. I was talking about Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Santa Ana Mater Dei and University of Alabama. And running back Miles Sanders has a little bit of a tweak in his groin and may not play in Saturday's preseason opener. Head coach Frank Wright announced that today. And then other news. We have the Panthers canceled Thursday's joint practice with the Jets due to weather and safety concerns, the team announced. I also want to just say thoughts and prayers with the people of Hawaii on the island of Maui. There are Oahu. There are, I think, 36 fatalities. There are people having to jump in the water to escape the flames. I know we focus on sports and reparations and politics and religion, but man, I just thoughts and prayers to the great people of Hawaii. I hope that things get better with the first responders trying to help people. But it's a sad thing that I saw on television today. Just the people are really going through it in Hawaii. So thoughts and prayers with the great people of Hawaii. I want to run back to the NFL, and I want to talk about a little bit of, it's not always bad in love and war. Sometimes it's good. But you got signings And quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, his signing was officially announced by the club, the Detroit Lions. So I hope that he's going to be fine. However, on the other aisle, there were some roster cuts. Offensive guard Logan Stenberg and another player retired. Running back Justin Jackson retired. And so I hope that people can understand this is a tough business in the NFL. You got to know when you got to go. When you got to go, you got to go. They don't often tell you. They just cut you the next day. They don't really give you a warning. When they come through and they say you don't make the team, there's not a lot of fanfare. They don't really announce it. They just knock on your door like, you got to turn in your roster. You got to turn in your paperwork. You're not going to make the roster. It's a shame, but it's a tough business. It's even more reason for people when they're in college and they think they want to get into the NFL right away or they want to forgo their senior season. You don't always get the chance to stay with that team. So that's something to be careful for. When you want to get a man, when you're going to get a job in the NFL, you got to replace a job by a grown man. It's not as easy as it seems. There's also some roster cuts, more for the Indianapolis Colts. You have wide receiver Ethan Ferner. He was waived with injury settlement per the NFL transaction wire. Tight end LaMichael Petway was waived with injury designation, also per the wire. And defensive back Michael Tutsi was waived with injury designation per the wire. You got to have a backup plan because it's really the strong will survive when it comes to the NFL. And it seems sexy on television, but it is a business. And you got to be ready for what happens if you don't make the team. Also, more injuries. Wide receiver Joshua Palmer, he left practice earlier today after going to the ground on a catch. And the team will learn a little bit more later today. Head coach Brandon Staley said that today. And at the same time, you got to look at with the Chargers. Offensive line Nick Millsap, he moved to injured reserve from being waived and injured per the NFL transaction wire. More injuries. I know it's not something that people want to think about, but you got to think about it because it affects the line. When they start giving you the point spread in Las Vegas, they go down the same thing that Big C's telling you right now. It's about the injuries. Wide receiver Cooper Kupp, hamstring is still day-to-day. And he's also in his recovery. That comes from head coach Sean McVay. Down in New Orleans, you have running back Kirk Merritt. He's experiencing hamstring tightness. And that's per head coach Dennis Allen. Just like getting up off the sofa and decide you're going to go run 5 miles or run a 26-mile marathon. Or like some people, they want to go skydiving at night. You got to stretch first. You got to get yourself healthy first. That's why they have the preseason. So by the time the regular season gets here, that players don't have the injuries. But for New Orleans, down in their swamps, they have running back Kirk Merritt is experiencing hamstring tightness. He pulled his hamstring. And that's head coach Dennis Allen made that statement. And then guard Coda Martin, he moved to injured reserve from being waived to injured per the NFL transaction wire. Safety Lonnie Johnson, he clashed knees with another player, and he's also has a hitch in his giddy up. And then one of the most storied programs or franchises in NFL football, the New York Jets, Jets. And of course, touchdown Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starter this year. But they have some injuries also, and we're just in preseason. It reminds me of Jim Brown. He led the NFL rushing for 9 years in a row. He never got hurt. He never missed a game. And now Richard Price said we got guys that get hurt in practice. That's Richard Price. But he was funny. At the same time, guys do get injured. They get hurt. That's why you got to realize there's always a chance to get a job as a backup. So always be ready. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson has an ankle injury and is going to do some individual drills today in practice, according to head coach Robert Saleh, who also is feeling a little bit better now that he has touchdown Aaron Rodgers under the helm. I think the Jets will have a decent season. I don't see them winning the AFC East. I still think that goes through Buffalo and maybe even Miami after Buffalo, and then the Jets and New England will battle it out. We'll see what happens. You also have cornerback Sauce Gardner. He has a quad injury, but do so also some individual drills per Saleh. And again, talked earlier about the Jets. They canceled today's practice, the joint practice with the Panthers due to safety concern, the team announced. Now, out here in Dimdale Hills, the team that I picked to win the Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers, been following them since the days of Gene Washington, if that makes sense to you. But wide receiver Ray McLeod has a broken wrist that's going to require surgery. That happened to me when I was playing ball. It's going to require surgery, and he's looking at an 8-week recovery time. Head coach Kyle Shanahan announced that today. Also, more news out of Dim Deer Hills in California. You have tight end, Pro Bowl tight end, the great George Kittle. He has an abductor, and he's out this week per Shanahan. These are guys that you're counting on to win games. And if that's not enough, not so fast, my friend, linebacker Dre Greenlaw. He also has a hamstring. He left practice early per Shanahan. And so now I'm reading all this stuff that I've learned through the NFL Wire, and I realize I'm going to start doing more sit-ups and push-ups. Next you might hear, starting that linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, Big C. And as I'm running out to the field, I might pull a hamstring. You got to stress the hamstrings, if that makes sense to you. It's a shame, but hamstrings tend to pull when you don't stretch them long enough. I guess that's just what happens when you got a lot of muscle on your body. And then as we head up to the Pacific Northwest, also got some more injuries. Linebacker Joshua Inoguga moved to injured reserve from the waiver to injured per NFL Transaction Wire. So there's a lot of guys that are going through it right now. I just hope that we have a successful season. I know people have their own thoughts about who's going to win what game and who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I got the 49ers coming out of the NFC, but I know there's some people in Philadelphia they say not so fast, my friend, because the Philadelphia Eagles, they're also loaded and they're looking for a comeback. Down in Dallas, we talk about Dallas every year getting to the Super Bowl. They have an outside chance with touchdown Dak Prescott. I like the Cowboys. Also New Orleans with touchdown Derek Carr. They have a chance to make some noise, but you got to look at the teams that were in the NFC Championship last year, and that was the San Francisco 49ers. Brock Purdy got injured, and it changed things. Philadelphia, very good football team. Green Bay, not going to be as good this year, but don't look too fast. Don't look too fast to get rid of the New Orleans Saints. They have a lot of speed in their offense. The defense has always been good, but I don't think they can overcome San Francisco and also Philadelphia. So I know it's early. I know it's based on injury. It's based on who stays healthy. But right now I'm going to go out on a limb. Not even a limb. It's just based on my research. San Francisco is due. They are so talented defensively. And I know people love Brock Purdy, and so do I. But you got to get Trey Lance into the game also, that run-pass option, because he makes your defense stretch the playbook. He makes your defense stretch the playbook. They ran that thing down in New Orleans when they had Drew Brees, and they would also bring in Taysom Hill. I think they can do the same thing in San Francisco. Stretch the playbook for the defense, get Trey Lance under the center, and see what he can do. Don't listen to the erstwhile media that says, oh, he can't do it. They haven't really seen him play. But if you're going to overcome a team like Philadelphia, you got a run-pass option quarterback in Jalen Touchdown Hurts. You need a quarterback that can match him. You can't always stop back in the pocket and find an open receiver. Sometimes you got to run for a first down. I think Trey Lance does that for the 49ers the same way Jalen Touchdown Hurts does it for the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Everybody has their own thoughts about sports and politics, and I have my own. I love the sports world. I love so much about what we do with Big C Sports. But I'm going to say what I want to do that I think you'll see followed by many other people all around the sports world, and give that some praise. I'm going to be talking more this year about branding. When you have sports leagues that are branding, whether it's Ocean Spray, they can brand things like Pepsi, 7-Up. They brand a lot of things. Whether there's other certain kind of drinks that are good for people, for hydrating you, whether there's gums, other merchandise, energy drinks. There's a lot of things that are coming that Big C Sports will be announcing that I think is going to be quite important in the world of sports and branding. There's a lot of things out there that are going to benefit athletes, and we're going to be talking about that more as that comes to fruition. So give that some praise. Really do appreciate all the things that are going on in the world of sports And I think it's part of that 9 Series DNA that's been working inside of me. That 9 Series DNA, starting to spread that all over the world. But I also want to take some time to pay homage to my family legacy. My beautiful mother, who obviously started a Head Start program and a food program. The best person I ever met in my life. The best person I ever met in the universe. Always saying rise and shine. Really do appreciate my mama. And then I love so much the fact that my beautiful grandmother called her mud dear, beautiful, loving, kind woman to see her. Really do appreciate her, still a husband to this day. My great grandmother called her Mamo. Former, I'm telling you, just a beautiful great grandmother, always making sure lots of love in the family and lots of food in the belly. Really do appreciate how she really would put her feet in those collard greens. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. And then on my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor. He had 2 churches in Oakland. He built the 3rd church in Central California, and he also owned 2 gas stations in Oakland. But he also owned 40 acres of land. Say, Curry, why are you talking about 40 acres? This is a sports show. Because the God has planned these things before I was born. My granddaddy owned 40 acres of land, like the Emancipation Proclamation, where Frederick Douglass was working with President Abraham Lincoln to give black Americans their reparations. He said, reparations now, reparations forever. And wouldn't it be fitting that my granddaddy's grandson, named Charles Curry of Big C Sports Podcast, is talking about 40 acres and reparations? The National Black Wall Street Project. Recognize it's time. It's time. I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate my grandmother, Alberta Curry, working side by side with my granddaddy with the 2 churches in Oakland. She touched me on my, and she also worked with the 2 gas stations in the building the 3rd church in Central California. I was 8 years old walking through a hallway. I'm telling you, you can't make this up. She touched me on my forehead. I was on my way to get some cookies, and I was tiptoeing. You know how kids want to sneak into the kitchen and get some cookies? And at 10 o'clock at night, she touched me on my forehead. She said, "What are you doing, young man? Going to get some more cookies?" And it startled me. I said, how she know I was going to get cookies? It's 10 o'clock. She normally goes to bed at 8:30. But she also said, she said, "There's something about your voice. I love hearing you speak." And now Big C Sports Podcast has more applications than any podcaster in the universe. That's 27. I'm reverse engineering how it happened. Had a lot of people praying on me. I'm going to get that $6 billion. I know it's coming because I've seen the promised land. And I'm going to keep saying it like Dr. King said. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. But whatever you do, you got to keep moving forward. You got to crawl if you have to. You got to scream and give that some praise. I love doing Big C Sports Podcast. And I'm going to tell you, there's so much that I love about it. I just love giving praise to it. My father, former United States Air Force fighter pilot, chief mechanic, always saying, develop your mind to its highest extent. In the Air Force, my father's roommate was the late Al Freeman Jr., who played the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in one of my favorite movies, Malcolm X. That was written and produced by the great Spike Lee and acted by my favorite actor, the great Denzel Washington. Now, Denzel doesn't know it yet, but when reparations are announced, it's going to be announced first by Big C Sports, and he's going to do a movie called Reparations Now, Reparations Forever. Our Hollywood brethren need reparations now more than ever because the robots are taking your jobs. You should champion what Big C Sports is doing. Don't make me the only one. I want to commend Marcellus Brown, who also was on Big C Sports Podcast earlier this week. He's a follower of Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics, who wants to bring the Black Wall Street to Boston. And also, Dwayne Wade Sr., the father of Dwayne Wade. Hall of Famer coming up soon. Induction should be this weekend. He was also on the Big C Sports Podcast this week, and they talked about reparations. I want to give them some praise. I appreciate my beautiful brother Todd with that bombastic voice. Sound like thunder and lightning when Todd would speak. Always saying go forward. And then Big C with all that wealth of knowledge over the years, always saying you gotta believe, saying let's get ready to rumble. So I love doing what I do. At the end of the day, I want to do what no sports show in the universe is doing. I want to champion and pay homage to the California Reparations Task Force as we leave today's show because it's going to become household names and it's championed by Big C Sports Podcast. And I want you to Google everything I say. If you can't Google what I say, then don't believe me. I'm not shucking and jiving. I want real change to happen in this country for all good people. There's an 1,100-page task force that's recommended for lawmakers. And Big C Sports is the only sports show in the universe that pays homage to them. California Reparations Task Force Chair. Attorney Camila Moore. Brilliant. Give him praise. Vice Chair Dr. Amos C. Brown. Brilliant. Give him some praise. The best senator in the United States of America. California Senator Stephen Bradford. Give him praise. Councilmember Monica Montgomery Steppe. Brilliant. Give him praise. Assembly Member Reginald Jones Sawyer. Brilliant. Give him some praise. Dr. Cheryl Grillis. Brilliant. Give her praise. Attorney Lisa Holder. Brilliant. Give him some praise. Dr. Javon Scott Lewis, professor at Cal Berkeley. Brilliant. Give him some praise. And Donald K. Tamaki. Give him some praise. Brilliant. That's the California Reparations Task Force. You only heard that on Big C Sports. And I love being able to do that service. Well, that's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, if you're going to drink, don't drive. If you're going to drive, don't drink. Mothers against drunk drivers are mad. And fathers against drunk drivers are mad. It's one of the easiest things not to do. You can call Uber. You can call Lyft. You can call a cab. You can walk it off. You can sleep it off. But the life you save might be your own. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, back in the day, there's a man known by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, rumble, young man, rumble. He said, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat because all the Big C burgers keep me light on my feet. That's why I float like a butterfly and I sting like a bee. My beautiful mother always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. No man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. If you know anybody going through that garbage, pick up the phone and call 911. Things change when the police show up. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Well, as I always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a super fantastic day in honoring President Abraham Lincoln. Reparations now, reparations forever. Do it 2 more times in honoring President Abraham Lincoln when he said, reparations now, reparations forever. It's said like your life depends on it, because for some of you it does. Reparations now, reparations forever. I thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a super fantastic day.